Hey, it's Kelly, your everyday CPA here at everydaycpa.com. We've just gone through an 8-round debate between a capitalist and a socialist. Now, I want to quickly recap what we learned from both sides and then share how I look at all this. Not as a politician, because I ain't one, but as a CPA who prepares hundreds of tax returns and sees how these ideas show up in real life on real tax returns. Here's what we learned from both sides. Round one was about the core problem. The socialist argued that capitalism is chaotic and unfair, what Einstein called the economic anarchy of a capitalist society, the source of a lot of the evil we see today. That was Einstein. The capitalist argued that socialism is a philosophy of failure, the gospel of envy, and that capitalism may lead to some unequal blessings, but socialism tends to deliver equal misery. Round two looked at what goes wrong in practice. The socialist said capitalism has outlived its usefulness and that it often takes necessities from the masses and gives the luxuries to the classes. The capitalist said socialism suffers from a simple disease. It simply runs out of other people's money. When your system depends on that, it eventually stalls and collapses. Round three was about freedom versus equality versus force when there is inequality. The socialist side focused on the moral aim, from each according to his ability to each according to his needs. No exploitation, more community. The capitalist side warned enforced equality comes before freedom. You need force to make it happen. And as Milton Friedman argued, you end up with neither real freedom nor lasting equality. Round four asked who should own and control the means of life. Marx called it the means of production, I believe. The socialist argument was that the few own the many because they control the means of livelihood, and workers need more direct control over their work and income. The capitalist answer was that private property is the most important guarantee of freedom, and that forcing equal outcomes, tends to require totalitarian power. Not equal opportunity, equal outcomes. Round five was about a planned economy. The socialists liked the idea of a planned economy that guarantees everyone a life of poverty impossible. Higher minimum wage is an example of that. The capitalists warned that the more the state plans, the more difficult planning becomes for the individual, and that crises are often used as excuses to erode liberty. Round six asked who they serve. The socialist side said the capitalist system is run for the richest, for the corporations, the bankers, the land speculators, and the exploiters of labor. The capitalist side pointed to government itself as the bigger threat, echoing Reagan's line, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help," as a warning that freedom is never more than a generation away from extinction. Round seven was individual versus collective. The socialist side said the system should prioritize the community, fairness, security, dignity for everyone, even if that means restraining individual wealth or power. The capitalist side said the smallest minority on earth is the individual, and only a system that protects individual rights like capitalism can truly protect anyone. And round eight finally asked which system should shape the future. The socialist side wants some form of socialism or democratic socialism to deliver more equality of outcome and more guarantees. The capitalist side wants a freer market with limited government, believing that's still the best engine for prosperity and liberty. So that's the clash. Who should control these resources? Who makes the decisions? And what do we value more? Enforced equality or maximum freedom and responsibility? Now, you probably have your own opinions on this, and frankly, that's terrific. and you should have some initial opinions on this. But here's what I see from my side of the desk. I've worked with hundreds of taxpayers over the years and in the tax area, and not once in all these years has anyone ever said to me, "Hey, Kelly, can you help me pay more tax?" Yet, in many of the most highest tax areas of the U.S., New York, Seattle, Minneapolis, people are paying some of the highest combined tax burdens of all in the country. If you add up income tax, payroll tax, sales tax, property tax, excise tax, self-employment tax, capital gains tax, now they're talking about a wealth tax. Over a lifetime, it adds up to more than 50%, closer to 60% of what they earn in certain states. New Jersey, New York, California, those are the highest tax states. They're up to like 62% of your lifetime wealth and earnings already goes to taxes. So if socialism takes a foothold in some of these cities, New York, Minneapolis, Seattle doesn't have an income tax, but they make up for it elsewhere. That number is going to creep up to 75%. So, of course, in communism, that number is at 100%. 100% of your income gets redistributed out and then back to you. In theory, you get that back in terms of free goods and services, but it's the state that's controlling the movement of those funds, of your funds. So many voters in those places are choosing policies that sound pretty socialist. More government programs, more redistribution of wealth, more promises that the system will fix their problems. They're told this is the solution to their struggles. But in reality, it often means even more taxes. They're picking the remedy that helped create the very problem they're trying to solve. Now, I want to say, I get why people are doing this. I'm not saying this with any, contempt or disdain or criticism. I understand why many people that are struggling are electing a different system. Nobody has shown them a clear, practical way to build their savings, reduce their tax burden, better control their spending inside the existing system they're already living in. And if nobody's given you a better option, it's easy to say, well, heck, maybe this big new idea will finally work. What I have now isn't working, so I'll admit that I have as a bias. My bias is to choose methods that minimize tax expenses. I personally want the ability to spend my income the way I think is best for my family and my future, and not hand more and more of it over to a tax agency, federal, state, local tax agency, and then hope that they do a better job with it. No, I want to spend it myself, and I want to save it myself. So I spend my time trying to help people reduce tax, spend less, and save more inside this mostly capitalist system, mixed economy that we live in, because I believe the downside risks of socialism are just too great to justify the potential upside it might offer some people in the short run. But again, I fully understand why some of you are tempted to give that a go. That socialist approach just might be what will help you out, especially if you're feeling like the current system hasn't given you a fair shot and it doesn't feel like you've got a shot at a fair shot. So here's what I want you to try to take away from this 8-round debate presented as a boxing match. My goal wasn't to push you to pick a team, capitalism or socialism, as if it's just another sports rivalry. My goal was to give you or get you to recognize that these systems are real practical systems that directly affect how you live your life, how you earn and spend your money goes, and how much you actually get to keep and save. These aren't just abstract isms that you debate online about. Both systems have to be funded with taxes. Let me repeat that. Both systems have to be funded with taxes, your taxes. The socialist system needed to be funded with more of your taxes, which means your money, No matter which direction your city or country leans, more capitalist, more socialist, somebody has to pay for it. And that somebody is you and your neighbors. There's only so many billionaires out there that you can tax 100% of billionaires' income, and you're not going to make a dent in this. My concern is that in some of the socialist trending cities becomes being made in the name of fairness and help for the struggling may end up actually leading to an even higher tax with fewer options for everyone who lives there. So I'm urging you, don't just argue slogans here. Spend some time and energy really trying to understand not just the system, but asking a simple question. Choice actually make my life and my family's life better off in the long run or not? And that's just not a systemic question. That's a practical question. What does it mean for me? What do these policies specifically mean for me? It's not theoretical, it's real. I'm Kelly, your Everyday CPA at everydaycpa.com. Hard truths, better decisions, happier life. Thank you.